Welcome to the Chai Break podcast with your host, Shweta Ravishankar.
And Rama Rao, coming to you from New York City. Each week, we brew up conversations steeped in our cross-cultural experiences, growing up in India and moving abroad in our 20s.
From feminism to fashion, colorism to colonialism, join us on our journey of becoming. With elements that almost every immigrant, irrespective of background, can relate to, we hope you enjoy our conversations and chime in along the way. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. We hope you've had a good week so far. Hi, Rama. How's it going?
Oh, it's been a great week, Shweta. Such an heartwarming week, right? I mean, we've been receiving such positive feedback from our family, friends, and our listeners worldwide. And we just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been tuning in each week from across the globe. And Shweta, we've been having audience from Bangalore to Bristol, Madrid to New York City and beyond. And we're definitely feeling the love and support. It's been such a great week, right, Shweta?
Definitely. It's been really, really good. And I don't think we kind of expected this kind of positive, warm feedback. And we couldn't be happier. And it definitely inspires us to keep going and keep getting better at this. Right, Rama?
Absolutely. So people, just hit the subscribe button or follow button, whatever it is. And wherever you listen to podcasts, so you get the notifications when our new weekly episode is out every Wednesday. It's because of you. It's because of you this is all happening. So great big thanks to you.
Yep. And as promised, here's our review of the week. Deborah from New York City has this to say. Tuning into Shweta and Rama is like joining a good old coffee clatch where the talk has a warm chai flavor. Great for anyone who's curious about how two modern South Asian women evolve as they become part of the fabric of the West. New York City, in particular, while reimagining and maintaining traditions their families gave them for their young children. You don't have to be from that part of the globe to appreciate the immigrant experience, she says. Almost all Americans have an immigrant story. Shweta and Rama's is at once warm-hearted, thoughtful, and significant. This really, really warms my heart.
Such a great review. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate these feedbacks that we're getting. Awesome.
So let's get started, Rama. How's your week been?
This positive feedback, and we've been talking about this podcast all of last week. So it's been very rejuvenating and refreshing. And it's been a great week so far, Shweta. What's more interesting is I was listening to Brené Brown the other day. And for those who haven't heard about Brené Brown, she is one of the world-acclaimed researchers whose primary work is actually researching shame in humans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, how interesting is that, right? Like she spent her lifetime just researching on, spending a lifetime researching on shame. And she's written so many books. Her findings are just fascinating. And I was just listening to the series on Netflix. She gives an hour and a half talk there. And what's more interesting is from her research, she's found that the most important trigger for shame in women is, guess what?
Body image.
Yes. You're so right. It is body image. And for men, apparently it's weakness, or being portrayed as weaker is one of the important triggers for shame. So I thought this was so fascinating because our discussion for today's episode is actually body image, right? And so I was like, wow, it's like almost like the universe is just giving me more ammunition to talk for today. So anyway, so that was fascinating. And that almost brings us into some of these terms that we've been hearing in relation to body image, which is body shaming and its counter body positivity. So let's start with that.
Let's look at the definition first. By definition, body shaming is a loosely defined term for the act of criticizing or mocking one's physical aspects. Right. Body positivity, on the other hand, is the belief that everyone deserves a healthy body image, regardless of how society, popular culture define desirable shape, size, or beauty. So overall, aiming at encouraging emotional well-being and self-acceptance, which of course we know, right? It's a lifelong journey of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with our experiences, both positive and negative, from very early on. And all of those experiences pretty much hit close to home. And we're going to talk more about that in our episode today.
Right. So these are such important definitions, right? I mean, it's important to have, it's important to know what body shaming is, because people, if they don't realize, I mean, they, even well-intentioned people around us can sometimes spew these comments and remarks without really realizing that this is your prototypical body shaming, what's happening right now. So I'm glad, like, we're kind of talking about this because it's so dear to us growing up in, again, a South Asian culture where we have this whole concept of, middle-aged Indian aunties, right? Who are
Yes.
pretty notorious for their sharp tongue and their comments. And it is just so ironic because it's these women are the ones that actually go through the biggest physical transformation. I mean, when you talk about body imaging, we're the ones that are, we're morphing from this young teen to this, woman and going through hormonal issues. And then we have kids and have the childbirth issues and the weight gain from that. And the menopause sets in. And there's so many other things, everything in between, right?
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that we get all these remarks from, our well-intentioned, close, near and dear, especially when we talk about, women, without really they realizing that what they just said is some of the comments are really come into the context of body shaming.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And if you look at it, even without body shaming, in the equation, just accept for a woman in general to just accept her changing body through the course of her life, it in itself is hard enough.
Yeah.
So throw in body shaming there and it just magnifies the issue that much more.
Yeah.
And I know about you, Rama. You've been one of the thinnest people amongst your family and friends, right? So you've had a lot to deal with.
Oh my gosh, Shweta, I think that's why this topic is so passionate, right? For us, especially for me, I think you're absolutely right. I grew up as in a family which was kind of, my mom's side are very thin. They're just like really thin. I mean, each of them can really go for a contest of the world's thinnest person.
You are right. Can I just say this? I think I was talking to your mom earlier this week.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know how the topic came up, but she did mention that one of her sisters is just 30 kgs, 30 kilograms. Yes. And I was like, I don't know how that works.
It's true. So even the men folk in my mom's side of the family were on the thinner side. They're on the leaner, thinner side. So I guess, genetics has a role to play here.
Definitely.
So, my dad's side, on the other hand, were like these tall, athletic looking. Even the women folk in my dad's side were these, tall, like they're close to like 5'10", 6-footers in my dad's family. So we were an interesting mix. So I kind of took a lot from my mom's side, physical appearance wise. So I was always one on the thin, leaner side. Even now, when you see me, where I'm still on the leaner side. But trust me, back then it was like way worse. Literally somebody would look at me and say, "Oh my gosh, is she anorexic or bulimic or what's going on with her?"
Yeah.
So I was always among the thinnest side, right, among my friends and family. And to add to that, we've talked about this before in the colors and topic. I was also dark. So guess who stood out in all the social gatherings? It was me.
Yeah, no. And
it was yeah, go ahead.
I think it's very, one point we have to mention here is that body shaming, is irrespective of size. Right. That's one issue that irrespective of size, it's size inclusive, I can say.
Right.
And that is why one person being skinny and thin is also commented on, whereas another person being on the chubbier, healthier side, or whatever you can call it,
Right.
We've heard all of those terms being used.
Right.
So as you share your experience, I think it's very important to point out that it's the spectrum. It ranges the spectrum.
Correct. Oh my God, that's a really good point, Shweta. So my experience has been being on the thinner side, being a little bit this scrawny looking teenager and growing up without those looks. And you're absolutely right. They've been the complete opposite where, my friends and even family members, right, we're on the bulkier side or the chubbier side or a little bit on, heavier side. I don't know, what do we call it, heavy set? So, they were not spared of this either. They were comments that totally was not, at that time, it didn't look like body shaming. But now the more we know, those comments were not appropriate. So, but going back to my story, I still remember standing out in all those social gatherings as this, everybody identified, who's that, Rema, that's the girl. That's like, go find the thinnest girl. That must be Rema. And it was so annoying back then. I really I was like, I really got very conscious about the way I looked. I was trying to wear outfits that kind of completely covered my body and gave me extra loose layers. So I looked like really bigger than what I was.
Mm-hmm.
And, like how nowadays we wear like the outfits that really fit our body type. I was like trying to wear baggy clothes. So I looked like bigger than what I was. And I still remember telling people telling my parents to feed me like more, feed her more ghee, more butter, give her more sweets. Like, as if they were raising a little puppy in the house. But what happened was that I have to tell you, everything has a positive and a negative, right? So I actually started, although I was trying to, up my body image by wearing all these different types of clothes, I kind of used my communication as my asset. So now that body image was not this, people use physical appearances as a strength for some people. For me, the physical appearance was not my strength. So I started using my communication skills. So that was really helpful. From that body shaming kind of a situation, I was able to come out of it using my communication skills. So I had my speaking abilities as my armor. So if anybody came and said something, or, if I wanted to show how good I am, it was not really obviously through my physical appearance, but it was more through my talking. So that was helpful, I think. But in medical school, Shweta, I was, you know what I was called? I was called a dry fish. Or karuvadu. For people who know Tamil, when somebody says that she looks like a karuvadu, you know what it means. It's a dry fish. So yeah, and funnily enough, you know what? I actually went to the aerobics classes when I was around that 16, 17, teen years, looking scrawny. And I was the only person in the aerobics pulling up, doing the cardio and jumping and doing stuff. And people around me were like, why are you even here? Because you need to not be here. You're losing more weight. So I was like, no, I have to go back home and I'm going to eat so much because it's going to help me put on weight. So
oh boy.
It was an interesting time, yeah. But look how far we've come, Shweta. It's crazy, right?
Definitely.
And Shweta, you've also had a small frame, right, for most of your life?
That's
I remember
right.
you sharing this. Yeah. Tell me about
because I've been dancing and working out pretty much all my life, as early on as I can remember. But before I share that experience, it's good to mention that body shaming is so ingrained in our Indian South Asian culture that a lot of times when people are passing comments, or we're experiencing it in our teen years, we don't even know. We're not even aware that it's happening, right? And that is why I always feel that society's standards of perceived beauty are so problematic on different levels.
Correct.
First off, as you said, these comments come from the most, I want to say, quote unquote, well-meaning family members, your neighbors, your, family friends, your household help, your own parents. It can come from so many different places.
Right.
And it, again, everybody tries to tell you that they mean well. Like, they want you to eat, because they want you to put on weight, or they want someone else to lose the weight because of whatever. And I feel like as a young, impressionable teenager, that can really have an impact on, your mental and physical health, right?
Correct.
And now talking about my own experiences, I still remember, I've always been petite through my childhood, my teen years. And when I used to dance, and especially when I used to work out, I remember, like you said, on a different level, but, similar comments like, oh, why? You don't have to worry. You can eat whatever you want. Why do you even exercise? You're going to vanish into thin air. This was one of the things that I heard constantly, right?
Right.
But I have to say, on the flip side of this, it's noticeable. But, today when I look back, I laugh at it. But the one of the things that actually made me very body conscious early on in my teens was the fact that someone actually pointed out to me that the women in my family have big butts.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. Yes.
Yeah, and for the longest time, I would actually say oh my God, the only reason I work out is because, I've had such a big butt and I need to keep that in check. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, although I worked out and I was healthy, the relationship I had with it was rather unhealthy, right? Because, you need to work out for other reasons. If you're working out, it should be so that you stay healthy mentally, physically, and, you go about life, you have more energy and things like that.
Right.
And not according to, the shaming and the guilt, whether it's around your body type, body shape. And like we've said, all of us come in different shapes and sizes, the apple body, the pear body, and
Yeah.
we're different. And that's what makes each of us unique,
Yeah.
And to aim for a certain body type has always been pushed onto us, by media, by family, by the internet, and everything that we consume.
Right.
And another big thing is that in our culture is obviously when it comes to women and body weight is when they consider you of the marriageable age, quote unquote. So I actually had a high school friend of mine who's extremely successful, very active, does yoga, does Zumba, and she was had a successful career. But none of that mattered when it was time for her parents, when they were looking for a potential groom for her, because she had experiences, really bitter ones, where the boy would actually come meet her and they would talk, they would go out, meet, whatever, and have men actually tell her that, oh, you know what, if you lose weight, you'll actually look prettier. Or other guy had actually told her that, oh my God, you're too fat, I can't marry you. And these things, and thank goodness for my friend, she was so strong mentally and had a great support system. But for anyone else, who's mentally, it can really have an effect on them. And you can go down this rabbit hole of depression and all kinds of other mental health issues because you really don't know how to deal with things like this, right? Either you can go on an extreme fad diet trying to lose weight. And, we've seen all of that.
Right.
So I definitely feel that although, these aunties mean well, like they think, a lot of research has shown, which you can share, Rama, that it has the exact opposite effect.
No, you're absolutely right, Shweta. So I think we're not advocating that people start ignoring their, figure or whatever their goal to look a certain way. We're not propagating that. We're actually saying that a person's body type is that person's body type. If one has to help that person, obviously obesity is a big problem here, right? So it's a health issue. It's an epidemic almost. Obesity is a huge epidemic. But by shaming the person, by going and commenting on the person's weight in a very derogatory, negative way, is actually not going to help that person get to a target goal of really getting healthier. So that's where I think we have issues with body shaming. People unknowingly just spew comments on a person's body shape without knowing what effect it has on that person. So if you're really trying to help a person, there are many different ways of saying it, but not really making a derogatory remark, even unintentionally. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So body shaming has a huge impact on mental health. In fact, there have been a few studies that have shown that discrimination against overweight and obese people really does not help them to lose weight. In fact, there was this study from University College in London, and they did a study on about 2,944 UK adults over a period of 4 years. And those who reported experiencing weight discrimination, they tended to gain more weight than those who did not. On average, after accounting for baseline differences, people who reported weight discrimination gained about close to a kg or more, and than those who who did not. So that question comes back as to is body shaming really contributing to the success and growth of individuals? That is
True.
That is the fundamental problem. It's not if you mean well about somebody's looks, if you mean well, there are many different ways of helping that person approach the target goals of whatever the person wants to do. First of all, it has to be motivated. It comes from within, from that person, how they want to approach their, their lifestyle, and their body shape.
Right.
But it should not be like a remark coming in a way that really makes that person feel so negative about themselves that it's really going to produce the opposite effect, right?
That's so true because, ultimately, we don't know what, you can't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
So, whatever shape, size somebody is, like, you really don't know what issues they're facing, whether health-wise, self-esteem-wise, what they're going through and what their life experiences have been.
Right.
So it's almost insensitive to, comment. And it definitely, like, as, studies have shown and common sense, it really does not help.
Yeah, in fact, fat shaming in that study, they summed it up and they said it only lowers a person's self-esteem, which in turn leads to long-lasting body image issues, eating disorders. In fact, instead of curtailing somebody from actually going, instead of curtailing someone from worsening their health, such body shaming kind of comments and remarks, if just thrown out there, can actually induce them to really go on the other way, even leading to depression and suicide. It's just counterproductive here.
Mm-hmm.
We're just not going anywhere with just doing those.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree, because I was reading another article, on the subject, and Tracy Richmond, the director of the PrEP, Preparing for a Healthy Life, the obesity intervention program she runs at the Boston Children's Hospital, she works with children of racial and ethnic minorities, and they're all predominantly low income and have severe obesity issues. And she saw what she calls a paradigm shift in the last 4 or 5 years. After the staff in her clinic, they started, changing their approach to weight-based discussions. She says, we stopped talking to kids about pounds and BMI categories. And instead, we've been focusing on promoting a positive body image and satisfaction at every size. And she says, as a result of this, she's seen more engagement with her patients, and it's kind of seen a remarkable improvement in their psychological health.
Very nice.
And this is really, it's a very positive story. And again, because, like you said, obesity is such a epidemic in, especially in this country and now around the world, and it's very, very important for us to, positive reinforcement of, body image is so important from a very, very young age. And in this instance, I have a friend here in New York, and she works in public health in an obesity prevention program. And I was just chatting with her the other day about our episode. And I was like, so what has your experience been? What have your observations been? And she was saying that one community she works with equates more weight to better health in kids. And this really struck a chord because remember, Rama, growing up, especially in the North, there's a Hindi phrase that says, khate pite gar ke hain. That means, you are from a well-to-do family. So that's why, that little chubbiness and that little weight equates to you having more access to more nutritious, healthy food, and you see how it's common across different communities around the world. And
it's a mindset issue. Yeah, it's a mindset for the communities. Yeah,
definitely. Because another community she engages with, she feels that they better engage with her with the food program that they put out because the community feels that knowing their health, eating healthier, eating more seasonal food, like incorporating fruits and vegetables in their diet, they're having a positive impact. And even some of them are losing weight. So, there you go. It's all about not body image, body positivity. When you think about all of this, it's also about, knowing where your food comes from, I feel like. And that is especially important for the, younger generation, the preteens and the teens, because I feel like that's where we go through our biggest body changes, right? And I feel like these kind of conversations really help in shaping, how we deal with it later in life.
And I remember that I know that we've had different versions of body image, body shaming growing up. But I know for sure that you've had more issues dealing with that during your pregnancy and after birth, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I remember you talking about some of that. Some of those were just, not right. Yeah. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, because I mean, it's again, right? See, I'm a perfectly healthy individual. When it comes to the health part of it, I have a healthy BMI, everything's good. And you would think that, I wouldn't have any of those issues. But it actually struck me for the first time that when I found out that I was pregnant, the first thing that hit my mind was, oh my God, I'm never going to be the same anymore. My body is never going to be the same. I'm never going to be the same size. And although, like I've said, even throughout my pregnancy, I worked out, I enjoyed it. But again, all of this speaks to the complex relationship we all have with body image, right? However small or big an issue might seem to somebody else, but unless you're the person going through it, the demons of your own mind, that's how I dealt with it. And even postpartum, I remember, when that new mom's like soft belly, I was like, oh my God, when am I going to lose it? What's going to happen? And now when I look back, I'm like, I should actually marvel that my body was able to create and nourish a little human being and, nest it for like 9 months. So again, this goes out to like the talk about the society pressures, on women.
Right.
New moms and moms to be, because there have been many, many times where I've heard women share that even when they were pregnant, somebody calling them fat, can you just imagine, like, it just blows my mind. But, we all go through that. And I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is that we should, first of all, just stop comparing, ourselves with each other. Because like I say, every body and every pregnancy and everybody, each of us are so different. Yeah. And when I was reading this piece, I came across this beautiful, beautiful line. And it talks about stretch marks, right? And stretch marks here, let's be clear. We don't only necessarily have stretch marks because of childbirth and whatnot. You gain weight, you lose weight, you work out, you get those stretch marks for different reasons throughout your life. And this line said, your body is not ruined. You're a goddamn tiger who earned her stripes. And
yes, that's such a good line.
It just feels
Love it.
So good. So good.
Yeah. You absolutely. Oh my God, that's such a great line. I'm going to really make a big post out of it and put it in front of my desk. Your body is not ruined. You're a goddamn tiger who earned her stripes. Love it. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're not celebrities here, but this body shaming has not spared celebrities either, right? I mean, people who have all this fame and money and everything, they're always under the limelight. That is true. But somehow there is this societal pressure that immediately, jumps on them and wants them to really get back to shape after a childbirth or after a surgery or something like that. Recently, I read an article about Aishwarya Rai. For those who don't know Aishwarya Rai, she was Miss World, I think, back in 2000, I guess in early 2000s, probably. I may be wrong on the timeline, but she actually was, she's one of the world's most beautiful women. And then when she delivered her daughter after childbirth, she didn't really go back to her original weight for a long time because she was going through postpartum. She was, all that changes that happens. But then she got such a big backlash from the media and, from her social pages and from her fans and everybody who wanted to get her to, why is the Miss World not back to her ideal weight? I'm like, she didn't really care about those remarks or those backlash. She just did what she did. And now she's back onto whatever her ideal weight for her. And she looks as beautiful as ever. But what I'm saying is celebrities have not been spared of this. There have been Miss Indias, after they have got the crown and the year later, when they put on weight, there was issues about that. And I think it happened here too with Miss Americas, even during their Miss America season when they got the title. And I know that this happened a few years ago to someone and they put on weight during the title as Miss America. The title could even be taken back according to the rules. But little goes into discussing why is this happening, right?
Right.
And what is a better way of actually approaching this and getting, people to be more health conscious rather than just ripping them off because of a certain idealistic body image we portray on them.
Exactly. And I think it's all about changing the narrative, right? How we shift our conversations from talking about that perfect six-pack and that beach body and that summer body to how do you just love your body,
right.
And make it the gauge for your mental and physical health. How are you feeling about yourself? How are you feeling when you wake up every morning should be the best gauge of, your health.
Exactly.
And I think it has to be looked at from that 360 angle. So that brings us to the very important question. So when you've dealt with these kind of things, all your life, how do you grow to love your body? And I read this amazing article recently that addressed just that. And it talked about small steps that you can take starting today, and just to change how you look at yourself inside and out, right? And let's go through this. There are amazingly 6 steps that you can do today, right? Number 1, commit to it. As with anything, acknowledging that you have an unhealthy relationship with your body for whatever reason that may be, don't be ashamed of it, is more than 50% of the task.
Right.
2, ditch the narrative that looking a certain way will make you happier.
True.
All of us have gone through that time, right? We have that size 2 or that size 0 jeans that we don't fit into, or we're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to wear that. No, just don't. Just enjoy the process that you're going through.
Yeah. And actually, again, just to clarify, I mean, it's not that you don't want to go to the size 0 or size 2. You can absolutely go to your size 0, absolutely go to your size 2, but for the right reasons, right? It has to be because you really like to see yourself in that size 2. It just makes you happier to be there. But don't do it because, oh my God, I have to go to a size 2 because that's what there is a societal expectation out of me. I need to fit into this norm. So ditch that narrative that looking a certain way will make you happier because it'll make the society around you happier. It should make you happier because it'll make you happier because you like to look that way.
And number 3, stop judging other people's bodies, period.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I've had, especially after going through childbirth, was like, just stop doing that because it doesn't do you any good. Neither definitely doesn't do the other person any good.
Correct.
Number 4, cleanse your social media feeds of anything that makes you feel bad about your body. Because every single day, the whole journey of body positivity is to feel good about yourself.
Right.
So there are several body positive influencers online, from actress Samira Reddy, model Ashley Graham, Jamelia Alia Jamil, and so many, many more.
Right.
And that's what it is. You make you feel good about yourself, and you see women who are also feeling good about themselves wherever in the journey they are, in whatever phase of the journey they're in, right?
Right.
Number 5, do something that makes your body feel good every single day. Move your body in whatever way you want. You want to go for a walk, a jog, do anything. The ultimate goal is for you to see an improvement in your energy levels, how you think about your own self. That is your mental fitness,
Absolutely.
and because that's as equally important as your physical fitness. And number 6, practice gratitude for your body. I think this is one of my absolute favorites.
This is so important. Yeah.
Do mirror work. One excellent habit is positive affirmation practice done in front of a mirror. So every day, take a minute, stand in front of the mirror and say, I love this part of my body because it did so and so and so. For example, if I look at my stretch marks on my, underbelly and I say, this is what nourished and, this is what helped grow my child. And, I'm always every single day filled with gratitude. And when you look at your legs, like, for me, it's like I'm a dancer. So it enables me to move my body in ways and in all the ways I want to and make me feel good about it. So these little practices, I feel like will have a great impact on your everyday and how you look at yourself.
Absolutely. And I think, and change the narrative for the younger generation, for the generation that we're raising, right? All of these practices, they should also learn. We're raising boys, like me, I'm raising 2 boys. I don't want them to, for them to walk around thinking the ideal beauty of a woman is, rest in this figure of a hourglass figure or whatever it is, or skin shade and so on. They should really focus on what the beauty lies in the whole person, the character of a person, the nature of a person. The person's brain is probably one of the most, sexiest assets one can think of. So they should be raised. Our younger generation also should be raised with the same set of values that you just mentioned. And also, we have to raise men in particular, boys in particular, thinking that beauty in a woman doesn't lie in that kind of a physical appearance that the whole society, social media, and everything is like propagating. It really lies in so many other things. So go beyond seeing just those physical appearances. And also, I think another thing is we have to, spread this message. I mean, you and I are doing a podcast. Our audience are listening to it. And the hope is that this message just spreads far and wide, which is the whole reason why we do these topics and podcasts and these discussions.
Yeah.
So the more the word spreads around, the more we can fight against this kind of a stigma and not really a war, but this kind of attitude and mindset can be squashed by really spreading this word and following all these practices. So raising a good generation, the future generation that really looks beyond just these confines of a body shape and looks more into a person, changing the narrative for themselves and for the society in large, I think would be greatly helpful.
Yeah, and I think we want to end this on like two positive notes. One of them was a recent story that I read, and, it just made me feel so good because, again, like we say, when we're talking about changing the narrative, it's not, yes, for this younger generation, but it's also around like, how our parents, our grandparents talk to us and to our kids, right? It's a trickle-down effect.
Right.
So I read this very uplifting story about this girl called Vijeta Mahendru and her grandparents. So her grandparents, when she came home and she was saying that she's been bullied in school, because she was chubby, that one of the ways, people call you fat in India. And her grandparents actually says that being thin or being fat, it has nothing to do with the size you are. It's all about the person you are on the inside.
Right.
And this really, really, armed Vijeta with the right kind of attitude to go ahead and face her bullies in school.
Nice.
And I feel like our children go through so much on a daily basis. They hear so many different voices and opinions. So when they hear this kind of positive reinforcements from the people closest to them, I feel like it has a greater impact.
Absolutely. That's such a wonderful story. Yeah. Everybody should kind of have that set of, ammunition on them. So when something like this happens, they're able to really use a different mindset when approaching the bullying and the stigmatization that's going on. So it's such a good story. Yeah. So we hope this episode resonates with you all. So do share it with your family and friends. And if you have an experience you'd like to share, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. That's it for our episode this week.
Yes, see you again next week, guys. Keep giving us that positive, that feedback. Whatever you say, whatever your reviews is what's going to help us get better and better at what we do. So thank you all, love you all, and have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye, Shweta.
Bye, Rama. Bye, guys.
If you like what you heard, give us a rating, leave us a review, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you stream podcasts. It would mean the world to us.
Have any questions or simply want to drop us a note? We'd love to hear from you. Write to us at chaibreakpodcast@gmail.com. That's CHAIBREAK podcast@gmail.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at chai_break_podcast or visit us at chaibreakpodcast.com.